The day you will be running out of options, when you have all the options exhausted, then only you can succeed. And the formula of success in probability theory, that the only way you can succeed is by eliminating all the possibilities of an error. So the formula of success is 1 minus all the probabilities of errors. So you have to eliminate all the errors, and then success do not have a plan B. So if you have a plan B, you are bound to fail. So do not have a plan B.
This is episode number 5 of the Midlife Station podcast with a man who believes there is no personal life, Sumit Shukla. Hello all, this is Rupesh Nahar, the host of the Midlife Station, a podcast where we bring in experts and interesting stories of people who have achieved amazing success during their midlife so that we can get educated and work towards the betterment of our midlife. Welcome to another episode of the Midlife Station. I am super excited to interview our today's guest, Sumit Shukla. Sumit is a serial entrepreneur who started his first company during his early 30s. Today, he is the founder and a global CEO of Connexrm. Connexrm has created various products in education sector and aim to help education institute cover entire 360-degree horizon of their requirements. Sumit has been instrumental in designing and innovating these products. Connexrm, in short span of time, has made a strong presence in various countries that includes India, Dubai, Singapore, and Malaysia. Prior to Connexrm, Sumit had also founded Zwen Technologies. Sumit firmly believes that there is no differentiation between a personal and a professional life. He is quite passionate about education, has done his MCA, and also has various degrees under his belt, ranging from MBA in investment banking, MBA in marketing management, and a degree as varied as law. In this power-packed episode, we gather Sumit's insights on his love for education and his vision about what changes are needed in Indian education system. How did he become an entrepreneur in his 30s? His views on solving a new problem versus making life better by working on existing problems. Work his company is doing in education field, the decision-making process that he follows, his advice for people in their midlife, and a lot more. Before we jump in, I would request you to please do subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast or Google Podcast so that you don't miss on any of our future episodes. You can also connect with us on our Instagram handle @the Midlife Station. Now, without much further ado, let us dive straight into our conversation with our guest for today, Sumit Shukla. Hi Sumit, I'm quite pumped up to have you on the show today. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you, Rupesh, for having me here.
So Sumit, I want to start with something interesting that I noticed while going through your LinkedIn profile. When it comes to education, I could see you have at least around 3 to 4 degrees under your belt. So you have done your MCA as a part of your post-graduation. Apart from that, you have done MBA in marketing, MBA in investment banking, and also something as different as a degree in law. So quite a bit of diversity. So can you please let me know the reasons or rationale behind pursuing these things? Was it for a love for your education or something you had in mind while you planned for all these things?
One question which I come across a lot in my career or life or whatever call it. When I passed my graduation and joined a company called iFlex, the company was in financial domain. And then from iFlex, I learned a lot about functionality, functional aspects of how the clients work in the financial sector especially. From iFlex, I joined another company called IVP, which was purely in the investment banking domain. Now that investment banking domain forced me to look out for something which would help me in analyzing what those people are willing to do. In that area, I came across a course for PGDIB, which is PG Diploma in Investment Banking, and then completed my investment banking just to understand what kind of logic and requirements of the job would be there. From IVP, I started my own ventures, and When you start your own venture is more aligned towards how do you make sales and how do you market your sales, right? That said, I've not been a student of MBA before and then started something. So when I completed 3 or 4 years in my entrepreneurship, I realized why not go for something which helps me in understanding what we could be doing right or wrong. And that forced me to take up the course for postgraduate diploma in marketing management. So I did my major in marketing there. As time passed on, the whole requirement of understanding how the law functions and then how do you want to progress in your career started coming into my mind again. And that pushed me forward to take up the course for LLB or the law. So this is the story, I've still not stopped. In coming 2, 3 years, you'll see one or two more degrees added to this list. This also means, I've just developed a love of reading and love of studying something. And if I'm not studying at some point of time, it gives me jitters, that what I'm doing.
I could clearly see you constantly look out for things which you can do to upgrade yourself and be relevant and also stay ahead, either when you were at your corporate life or when you're doing your entrepreneurship. And you have not stopped. That is the key here. The love for reading and love for studying. Amazing. So I think you had done a very good planning already when you wanted to pursue degrees and take things forward. So one question I typically ponder on is everybody knows that they have to upgrade themselves, but very few people do it, especially because they have excuses like I am quite tied up with my job or I am into my business, I don't get enough time. So what were some of the best practices or any structure you followed, say time boxing or scheduling a specific time in a day or a week, how you try to balance between your work or entrepreneurship and studying something?
Rupesh, I'm a bad example of giving this kind of answer because I always tell my friends, colleagues, whoever they are, that I have 26 hours in a day. So I don't really care about the number of hours in a day. The best thing or the bad thing about me is I don't care what time it is of the day. I have started at my days at 5 a.m., sometimes at 10 a.m. I end my days rather at 5 a.m. sometimes. Literally, there is no plan. And when I want to study, I study. When I want to work, I work. One thing which is very meticulously chosen is that nothing should get priority over other. So when work is the priority, the work gets priority. It gets completed. When studies are the priority, they get priority over the work, but nothing should get harmed in any manner when you are doing multiple things together, and everything should be given due importance, due diligence when you are taking up these kind of things. So usually people say they have a personal life and a professional life. My idea of a personal life is coming from the professional life itself, so I don't have two different lives, and I think that makes it easy for me to really balance both the boats, or maybe multiple boats at the same time.
Interesting thought. So what you mean here is whatever you do, give due importance, but never forget that while you are doing your entrepreneurship or you are working in your corporate life, studies are as important and devote time for that and keep studying and keep moving forward. So Sumit, you have been an entrepreneur for quite some time now,
Yeah.
but I want you to know when the seed of entrepreneurship got planted in your mind for the very first time. Do you remember that moment?
Oh yeah, definitely. These thoughts really do not go away.
Yeah. Can you share that story or a moment with us?
Right. I was in Abu Dhabi in 2004 and 5, I think. Yeah. So most of part of 2004, I was in Abu Dhabi in a bank called First Gulf Bank, and it was a very typical, complex kind of implementation with iFlex. What we were doing there, I think first of the iFlex implementation and channel integration as well. So, I've been a hardcore techie when I started everything. The journey of life has changed my directions, but still I'm a techie at heart. When we were in Abu Dhabi, me and my friend who started this my first venture together, we were having a few drinks. I can remember the brand of the bottle as well. And we were discussing a lot of aspects of how the work is going on, how the work is pushed forward, how the things are moving. And then it struck us that what we are doing is not something which is out of the world, and we anyway have always been committed to the work we do. It's not like we are doing a job so we will do it in a different manner, or maybe we'll convert into ourselves into entrepreneurs and then change ourselves altogether. So from that day in 2004 or maybe early 2005, we started to put a timeline together, saying that let's do one thing. Let's work for 18 months, 24 months more. Let's try to see how this whole concept of corporate life expands out when you are actually doing your own work. And then from iFlex, we both of us joined smaller companies just to see how the business is taken care of. And then in the year 2007, we decided that yeah, let's take the plunge. I think we have done enough services to provide benefits for something which we are not getting suitably rewarded. And let's try to create an environment which eventually helps people. Let's try to create an environment which is truly a work oriented, passion oriented, whatnot. In the due course of time, you will learn that these are all thoughts which come eventually in the first phase in the mind. But yeah, so it was Abu Dhabi, late 2004 or maybe early 2005 when it all started.
You said that once you had that thought, you started working towards planning it and see how you can, what is the best time when you can move out completely and start with your own entrepreneurship journey. So, how did you decide that, okay, now is the right time to take that plunge and go toward doing something of your own? Because that is a big step because you are doing something where you have a constant income coming to you. And all of a sudden, if you take some plunge of entrepreneurship, then how do you balance out? So there might be a lot of things might be going into your mind. So can you share some thoughts around it?
Yes, planning is key. There's no right time to take the plunge. One thing which has been very surprising with me, Rupesh, is that whenever I've started anything new, the market has gone into recession. So when I started my career, that was the biggest dot-com boom or bust, which happened in 2001. When I started my entrepreneurial life, the whole investment banking structure failed. There was a big depression in the market. But we have sailed all through that. I've sailed all through that. One thing which me and my partner had one very clear in the mind that we should have a backup of at least 24 months in our accounts before we even plan to do this kind of stuff. So what we did was we started saving from the day we started planning that we will do something like that. We started saving for the bare minimum kind of requirements which would be there to be fulfilled for the family, and then take the plunge in. So when I really started the whole operations or the whole entrepreneurship journey, I already had a backup of 18, 24 months in my account, apart from the money that I wanted to or I was willing to put in the company to support the family, so that there is no resistance from the family. And one thing which really stops people from getting into this kind of a high risk zone is the pushback from the family when they say that they want to do something on their own, in which the biggest problem is that from the set income, as you said, monthly income which really hits your account on last day of the month, to an unknown kind of scenario where you do not really know that when will you be able to get the same kind of income back, is the biggest factor which people digress from, and that's why you will not see people crossing 40 more often taking into an entrepreneur role, but rather more younger people getting into that. I'll not might call myself young at the time we started, but still. So that was one of the big plans which we had. And we did not have any client when we started, to be very honest.
Yeah. So I think the point where you mentioned the planning is key, and then there is no right time to start. Most of us we just spend time finding that right time. And as you said, whenever you started something new, there was a depression in the market, which clearly suggests there is no right time as such. And second point, which you brought out very well, is that plan your finances. Whenever you take that plunge, it's natural that family would have concerns, and that will also stop us to take anything different from what we are currently doing. And if you have some good finance, if you plan that finance, as you said, you had at least 24 months in the account. I think that would really be of a strong support
Yes,
to you as you move
yes.
forward, right? So now just deconstructing the process of when you do entrepreneurship, what business you wanted to venture out into, and was it because you were passionate enough about that product, or you already had some product market fit analytics done? What was that you felt, okay, I think this has a probability to work, let's go ahead and try it out?
So we did have a product portfolio really mapped well. We knew that CRM is one thing which is going to be a big thing in the market. We also knew that integrations is something which the world will always look forward to. So when we started our venture, we focused more on the CRM aspects of delivery plus the integration aspects of the technical requirement. And for larger part of time, these two concepts really gelled together. With my experience from banking, my partner experience from banking, we went into the banking world as well. Banking finance is something which really helps entrepreneurs get into that thick of the market. So we did quite amount of good job. We went into a lot of partnerships. Luckily, in my time, there were few incubating companies coming up which were looking for partners to expand their business, to in fact outsource work. I think that way, we started doing well. Then there were always connects and all, which started, multiplying the clients. We started with zero clients, but within 15 months, we had around eight clients for which we were doing the work. And those eight clients were spread across the geography, not India alone, but US, Germany, Singapore, and Dubai. So the whole thing about sticking to CRM, which we still stick to, and the whole integration factor, which was the primary thing, and then things kept on getting added. The cloud thing came, then whole concept of building a product in a vertical specific thing came. So it just kept on evolving from there.
Right. So, but when you started with the process which you're talking about, so was there your product which you created, or you were providing services that time?
So we did a mixed thing. We took MS Dynamics CRM as one of the base. MS Dynamics CRM, why? Because MS Dynamics CRM was a platform, more like a platform rather than a product. So we built two or three, vertical products over that, and then we started going with Microsoft as well to the market to showcase the entire portfolio what we had, and then we built our whole integration product on our own, using proprietary technology. So we did mix of both, and then services eventually came along. Services is something which always comes along. It's not something which you will be able to deny when you are in the market of CRM and integration specialist.
So, just for the benefit of the listeners, what was that problem which you thought of solving with this?
See, one basic mistake what all entrepreneurs do in life is that they are always trying to solve a problem. And that's why you will see the high failure ratio of startups in the world. And this is a jargon which even VCs and investors come up with a lot. What is the problem you're trying to solve? You don't need to solve a problem always. And this is my concept. This is my basic fundamental. When I talk to my sales team or talk to my people, it's not always that you will try to solve a problem. It's how about you want to make the life easy for people for the task they are doing already. You take a simple concept of an integration product. What is it that the bank is not doing or the corporate is not doing at the moment? They're also doing everything which your product is supposed to do. So, in effect, you are not trying to solve a problem. What you are trying to do there is that you are only trying to make their life easy by bringing a lot of things on one platform, and that's just not let them, go into a silo mode of applications where there's a mesh which is created in the applications. So, I always emphasize on the fact that please don't go about solving a problem. Very few people will be able to build a Google. Even IBM was not able to build a Google, right? You cannot solve a problem every time. Leave it to the people who really would come one day in the God mode and solve the problem. Make life easy. The more you will make life easy, more chances are there for your product to be adopted well in the market.
2 points which you brought out here is you don't need a problem to solve. Second is that you always find something or make something which can make life easier for people. If you do that, then you still be able to be successful instead of trying to find a problem and keep on solving that, and maybe you might hit a roadblock and might not.
Yeah. In one of my forum discussions, Rupesh, I was asked about something called reinventing a wheel. I said, you cannot reinvent a wheel, but you can always improve upon the wheel, right?
Yep.
So, who said that wheel once invented cannot be reinvented? Reinvention of a wheel means you are going into continuous improvement cycle of the wheel. And who said that you cannot improve a wheel, and third person will not improve another on the wheel and the fourth person will not do that? So why do investors or why do these people want to only instill a thought in people's mind that you should always solve a problem? You cannot solve a problem. Everybody is happy in his own domain.
Makes sense, Sumit. And I think that is also one of the reason why people procrastinate and don't take action, because they are still trying to figure out what is the best problem I can solve and just think about it. And instead of it, if they can also say, okay, let's see what place or where is that vertical or where is that niche where I can make life more easier.
Exactly. And if you really take successful stories, Rupesh, successful stories are always the second ones, not the first ones. Very few of the first ones have really succeeded. I can't even recall which first one has succeeded. Take Facebook. Facebook came after Orkut, right?
Yep.
Facebook improved upon what Orkut was not offering, and then it got succeeded. Facebook did not come the first day and was a success. They waited for 5 years to get the success. They kept on improving. Orkut is now gone, but you remember Orkut days, right? Because I think you should have
Yeah,
created your own profile in
yeah,
Orkut
yeah,
as
I do
well.
remember.
Google also was not the first search engine. You remember Rediff?
Yeah,
Rediff was used by a lot of people,
yeah.
and then there were multiple Yahoo search engine and everything which was there. But Google did simplicity. Google did improvement on the simplicity. Bing did not succeed. Bing had all the features of what Google had, in fact, better features than what Google had, but it did not succeed in the manner Microsoft would have wanted it to succeed. That's what I'm saying. Don't be afraid of improving upon the wheel. Don't always think that you will create something new. Create new which is not existing, or maybe the improve upon the old. That is the whole philosophy of my life. Improve upon the old in a manner which makes life easy, and your product will be adopted well.
So you started banking as a vertical, and then you slowly shifted to education, or when you started your entire entrepreneurship journey, you were focused on education. How did this education thing plugged into your finance and those domain which you had already experienced upon?
When I started my career, it was financial services. So it was not bank, it was financial services, to be very honest. Financial services is one of the most luring aspects of the business. That is saying which goes without a proof to be given. When I started my entrepreneurship, for good 6 7 years, I was concentrating on the financial services aspect. But I said, taking Dynamics CRM as our base, as platform, I was always looking for the verticals which did not have a strong presence of that particular platform. Education has been one of my passions basically for some time. And my number of degrees and everything is also a reflection of how do I perceive education there. When I realized that there is a big miss in education in how the technology is adopted and how the technology is incubated in that particular vertical. In the year 2014 or 2013, I presented my first paper on why technology shift should happen in education from the current ones which are being used. And that was also the time when people started shifting from a client server model to a cloud based model at that moment, and the whole concept of smack was coming into picture. So from that day, I started putting my mind in trying to build an architecture which would really be helpful architecture in developing a system which really is of my vision in terms of how education services should be integrated with the technology solutions at that moment. Finally, in the year 2015, and I started developing a system, and by 2017, when we started Connexrm as another product company under APAR, we shifted this product, and then we started our journey of progress for education-based technology product from there. I got support from Microsoft and Gartner in that area a lot, and when Gartner saw my product, they said, I'm happy to see a product like of this quality coming up from a region like us, Asia Pacific, where US has been dominant in this thing so far. I'll be more happy to see how big products now come down to scale up to your product rather than you going and meeting them in the long run.
It was 2016, so you took at least 2 to 3 years in building this product, and you were doing the work on the background while you were on your first company.
You really want to build a product, I would say at least 18 to 20 months planning would be required. Because you cannot build a product in 2 days. That's a farce, it cannot happen.
But contrary to this, Sumit, I have always heard that quickly come up with your MVP, taste the water, see how it works. If it doesn't work, take the feedback and change it, and then create subsequent version instead of you waiting for so long. So this is also we hear a lot. You might be already aware.
I'm an old school. I believe in waterfall a lot rather than being an agile kind of person today as well. So I do not hate agile technologies. I do a lot of business in that, so please don't mistake me there. But the point is, in the product scenario, even if you go through the normal cycle which people have written in the books, which I don't agree with, you will see that the product incubation stage is literally around 2.5 to 3 years in the beginning. And for me also, the product incubation stage was 2.5 3 years only, because in 2016, when I started building, within 3 months of putting up the entire concept, I already had two of my clients coming in. So, unless until you are very sure of what you are trying to build, unless until you are very sure on you're convinced of the product quality which you are going to bring on the table with the feature list we are going to bring on the table, it makes no sense to build something, right? But if you have a concept clearly built in and you discuss that concept with a lot of people, you already have done half of the steps of the product development lifecycle there. And today also, Rupesh, the market for a product like what we have built in Elite, in education especially, is untapped and is pretty huge. So when I take a look at the business plans which I talk with my investors, they also are amazed at the numbers which can be achieved. It's an endless market right now.
So this platform which you have built, what is it about and what it does for any education institute, whether it's a school or a university? How does it help them?
You are touching up a subject which can actually take days to talk about, but in a nutshell, an institute's requirement is can be divided into multiple parts. My products are therefore catering for all the parts, whether in silo or in total as such. If you divide, an institute would want a backend ERP, they would want a student information system, they would really want a satisfaction services system, they would want a personality development system, and they would want a finance management system. This is how an entire educational institute really goes about needing the systems, and this is where you will see the different zones created in the systems niche as well when you talk about multiple ERP or multiple education products. So my suite of products really cater about all end-to-end requirements of the education institute. So I have an Elite SIS which takes care of the student relationship management. I have Elite BAM which takes care of the backend ERP requirements. I have EUPP which is one of my favorite products, taking care of all the payment related needs of the institute. I have Quiz which is more of a query and redressal system. And then I have HPro which eventually is the personality development program. And these are all combined together, could be bought separately for institute to really take them up. We've also added one more thing called ESIS Online. And just to give you a bit of this, today only I sent a mail to the organization saying that we have 50 unique clients in just 45 days of launching this product of ESIS Online. So during COVID also we were not sitting, just waiting for this thing to get over.
That's amazing. So, Sumit, typically from the education or university aspect or any schools for that matter, they have been typically a bit in the old school way, right, where they have been doing things manual. Now moving to digital platform, because I don't know how the funding also happens to them because they rely on the fees which they generate from the students. Yeah. So, from that perspective, how easy or how challenging was it for you to sell this product to them?
Rupesh, sale is always challenging. So, if anybody says sales is easy, then he is actually making a fool of you. But today also we face the same kind of challenge and we sing the same song, with every new client. And the client can be a small school with 300 students, and he could be a 330,000, student strong school as well. Everybody has to be sung the same song. And why and how will they improve? What improvements will be done? And my product is not a typical student information management system. It's more like a learning path management system kind of scenario. So, it makes me a bit more difficult for me to explain. But yes, once they understand what we are trying to do, majority of the time clients like to compare the systems as well. As soon as they look at the system from the UI perspective and the functionality perspective, we have won 90% of the battle there. So, literally, nobody wants to understand, and I'm sorry when I say this, but nobody really wants to understand how the technology would improve their efficiency. What people want to understand is how the technology would make them look good in education today as well. So what we try to do is we try to mix both of the things together when we pitch it to the client. And how does it make them look good? What benefits it provide them when they implement a solution like this? And then how the efficiency increases in the long run.
Point which you brought out is something which is in any human nature. If you look at it, they always think of how this service or this product will make me look good or make me feel good. That is really a key. If you can convince someone that this is something which will make you look good and make you stand out or differentiate, I think that is a key thing when you try to market your product, or your product should be good enough to at least give them that visibility and convince them that, hey, yes, this is the right product for that. And as you said, the benefits are also key. Making them look good or feel good is one thing, but if it doesn't give you benefit, then again that's a challenge. So both of them combined is really powerful. Right. So Sumit, during this journey to entrepreneurship, you might have faced a lot of challenges. So what was the biggest roadblock that you faced, and how did you come out of it? Anything if you could share with us?
I would say most difficult question and most interesting question as well in this entire discussion what you are having. What are the challenges? The challenges are every day. When you plan out something like this, all your friends, your colleagues, your ex-managers would say, "Come on, man, this is a thing for you to do. Come and you will get a lot of things in the market. There's an open market for this and that and everything." And you say, "Boss, this is the right time to get into this." And as soon as you jump into the foray, you see that all the friends are gone, all the bosses are gone, market is nowhere, and you are nowhere. This has happened to us as well. The only way by which you really succeed in your entrepreneurial journey is all what I tell my people, or whatever, whenever somebody comes up to me for advice, is that do not have a plan B. You will hear this thing a lot, Rupesh, right? That, always have plan B, plan A, plan B, plan C. If your plan A is not working, you can shift to plan B. If your plan B is not working, you can shift to plan C. My advice to all the people who really want to go into an entrepreneurship journey is do not have a plan B. The day you will be running out of options, when you have all the options exhausted, then only you can succeed. And the formula of success in probability theory, that the only way you can succeed is by eliminating all the possibilities of an error. So the formula of success is 1 minus all the probabilities of errors. So you have to eliminate all the errors, and then success do not have a plan B. So if you have a plan B, you are bound to fail. So do not have a plan B. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to keep this in your mind that you can never go back from this journey.
That's a powerful statement. Don't have a plan B.
Never have a plan B.
As they say, challenges are what makes life interesting, and overcoming them is what makes them meaningful. So, one thing I wanted to also check was you face challenges, and over a period of time, you had to take multiple decisions. And decision making is a skill is so key and very important. You may agree with that. I'm always curious to understand how do people make decisions. And from your perspective, I wanted to know, is there any framework which you follow when making decisions? I know people say it is data driven, or it is something called intuition, or you develop intuition by making bad decisions. But anything which you have realized over a period of time on decision making, if you can share with us.
Very easy method I follow. I have a plan sheet with me, and I always update that plan sheet for 6 months of advanced planning. In any month, if I see that I do not have a plan for another 6 months, and if that plan is not visible, I know that we are in trouble. And this has happened to me in past as well. I am always able to predict the trouble in the organization at least 5 to 6 months in advance. And that has really given us enough. First time the people did not realize that I was saying it right. But when the tragedy really struck us, everybody started following what I had to offer during that particular strategy meeting. And I'm always on my foot on that particular aspect, that if I do not have a visibility of the plan for next 6 months, I know something is going to go wrong without our knowledge at a point of time in which we would all be caught unaware. So that's a jittery factor for me. I always need to have that sheet giving me a visibility of the plan for next 6 months.
But so Sumit, I agree with your point where you may say you have planned for next 6 months. But sometimes there are things which come out all of a sudden which you cannot plan for. And that is the time when you have to come to some kind of decision. For example, let's say COVID, right?
Let's say COVID. COVID is the best example, right? For every planning to go wrong, correct?
Yeah.
For everybody.
Yeah.
So what we did on 24th of March, when the total lockdown was ordered, my strategy group was actually sitting at 11 p.m. in the night having a call at Teams. We did have a call with the strategy team for at least around 3 to 4 days till 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. if you really would want to know the time. We decided that we cannot give it up. We cannot just leave it to the chance for us to really see how is this going to shape up. We immediately devised this whole ESIS online concept, understood the fact that how and why schools would want to do something of a different nature for which they are not ready. And believe me, schools were not ready to face this kind of challenge, correct?
Yeah.
So we did the entire shift in the technology. We did not destroy our plan for 6 months, which was there. We said, let's change the date from March to June there. And from March to June, put up a new plan immediately, because this is not something which we control. But I always told everybody in my team, do not think that this is going to get over before August. So if you're thinking that this is only a 15 days, 21 days, you are under an impression which I cannot support you. So this is something which is going to be there till August end at least, and you have to come up with plans which will support things till August end at least. So shift the dates from March to June for whatever plan we have done. Put new plans immediately within 1 or 2 days, for which gives me visibility till August. And we did that. As I said, if I don't have anything in that particular sheet, I'm ready to work 48 hours in 24 hours a day. That is okay, but I need to have a plan present in that sheet. And I think we completed that plan in 3 days. Within 7 days, the entire team was up and running in terms of developing the system and getting into prospecting and lead generation. Within 10 days, we landed our first client.
I think that's a very good example that you have given where you pushed your plans which you already had and created something new for the things which are not in our control. And moving forward, Sumit, since you're closely associated with the education system and you know how it is in India today, what are your views and maybe if I can call your vision, if you look at the education system in India, how you want it to be? How is it today and how you want it to be? If you can share some of your thoughts, some of your vision around it.
This question would put me directly in line with the government policies, which I don't want to do. But education system in India is not at all conducive for education. Education system in India is how politics looks at that system. And I don't know how this would be perceived, but yes, education system needs to go a complete 360-degree revamp if we really want to impart, or if you really want to put ourselves in that strata of the top level of education system providers. Today, the education is more like followed system, rather than a leading system. So today, people are not trying to predict. The education will improve when you have a predictive system. Today, it's more like a following system. So you take an examination which everybody knows how and when it is going to come. You give results based on that examination. Then you do your competitive examinations in which somebody will have a luck which will succeed, somebody will not have that. Premier institutes will have tougher examinations out of which 60% people will go out. So that they will be brain drained. And the people who will be left back, who are going to teach the next generation, are the people who are not taking up the education willingly. Education system in India has to completely undergo a change. It has to be dynamic. It has to be learning oriented. It has to be learning path oriented. Today it is not. The learning path concept of education is very, very important. And majority of the countries which we call advanced in education are really adopting the learning path methodology of implementing education. So by the time you come to class 6 or class 8, the concept of learning path for the student, teachers, and the parents should be clearly imbibed. And that's how you will really create an educated population rather than just a muggers population, I would say, who just keep on ranting things and they don't really know nothing. But people who will be knowing, who will be really intelligent in the field what they're studying at. So change the system. Otherwise, if anyway, India is, I think, 36th or 37th in ranking in education systems in the world, or maybe below that. I don't remember the exact figure, but it will keep on falling if this keeps on continuing.
By learning path, when you say it's more about understanding what child strengths are and giving him that path which can make him more successful going forward, is that what you mean from learning path? Or
Yes, yes. Till class 6th or class 8th or whatever is the good decision to be taken, people should follow a set path by which, when you end class 6 or class 8, whatever it is, there should be a clear data direction available for everybody to understand what is the next step to be taken for that particular child.
amazing.
And that's how you will build upon the intellectual capital of India.
That will at least help any student to build upon his strengths and be quite successful in that path instead of going by the herd. Okay, I want to do commerce or I want to do science, I want to do arts, whatever it may be, and then once you graduate and then curse yourself, hey, why did I do this?
Exactly. You have to avoid that, because the generation, we are the population of young people, but these young people will get old as well. So this generation which is coming out now is a confused generation in education. They didn't really know what is next for them. Only a handful of people are really aware of what they're going to do. But this awareness should actually come at a very early level rather than getting it late.
I agree. I think these are the few of the challenges which people today in the midlife also face, that they are doing something which they just I would say, inherited because of the decision which they took. And right now they feel, okay, maybe I could have done something else. And then they feel, okay, it's too late now to shift. So that kind of things keep on developing. And second part to it is, if you look at it, after we do our education, one of the key challenge which everyone faces, how do they manage their finances? Managing money is never thought when we are in our schools.
Right. And I keep on saying the people who are from 25 to 45 in this generation is the biggest confused lot. And that's why this whole concept of value system is really not picking up in India, which it should be picking up in the manner in which it is being taught. And this confused lot is going to really put a lot of distress into the future generations as well.
So, Sumita, before we move to the last segment, one question which I wanted to understand your views on is, as an entrepreneur, when you were in a corporate career, you might have come across many people who are typically in this age group of 30s and 40s, living in their midlife and living a quite an ordinary life. So, from your perspective, what will be those three key things that you would like them to maybe implement or work on so that they can transform their life and live a life more fulfilling and an enriched one? Any thoughts you would like to share, at least two to three key things which you think would be beneficial for them?
Rupesh, I'm a rebel. I'm a rebel. So I do not agree to the point that people need some thought process to really tell them that they are not leading an enriched life. As I said in the beginning as well, everybody is leading a satisfactory life right now. Only the people who are not living a satisfactory life really want to progress. And there's a difference in the thought process here when from your question from what I'm trying to tell here right now. Majority of the people in the 30s and 40s you will see are content with what they are doing. And when they are content, you really can't push them to do anything else. And that's why only a handful of people who you see are not content are really getting into some domain of trying to do something else, which would make their life more fulfilling and more enriching. So the concept of contentment and concept of satisfaction in India at this level is highest. Nobody wants to do an extra work. Everybody wants, and I'm a rebel at this. I can speak day in day out on this concept. People in India at the moment when they cross 30, 32, 34, and they get married and have a kid, what they want to do and what their wives want to do and what their families want to do is they should go office at 10:30 a.m., come back at 5:30 p.m., do nothing at office, do everything at home, yet get all the money in, earn more, but never take tension from the office. This is one concept which you will hear a lot in Indian families. Office ki tension mat lo. But if a salary of a person is delayed even by 1 hour on the day of salary, everybody starts cursing the company's finances. So everybody is content, Rupesh. Nobody is actually distressed. The people who are distressed are people who really want to do something different to make an impact in the society. And you will not find most of the people there. So let's do a percentage analysis. 90% of the people are already content. They would want to go to office at 10:30, even happier at going at 11 a.m. if you really can give them the liberty. Come back at 5:30 p.m. or maybe 5:45 p.m. Sip a good cup of tea, take a look at TV, do some homework with the child, and then say the country's politics is not going to work. This country is going down. Only the handful of people who are really willing to make a difference would actually get into that particular domain, and you cannot give them any advice, Rupesh. Every successful entrepreneur in your life, in my life, in anybody's life, would only become successful when he follows his own trajectory of actions. There is no formula for success here. Warren Buffett had a different life altogether. Bill Gates had a different life altogether. Google founders had a different life. Facebook founder had a different life. No life could be matched. No formula could be made to tell anybody in this world that follow this and you will get success. Yes, for 90% of the people who are content, you already have a formula. I know I'm not answering your question to your liking, but the point is this is right.
I think the message which you're passing along to everyone would be uncomfortable and not be comfortable to make a change.
Exactly.
So, Sumit, we'll now move to the final segment of our show, which I call as a quick fire round. I will give you a minute or so for a few questions, and I would like your answers on.
Yeah, definitely. Go on. Fire.
Okay. So, the first one is, what is the daily ritual or routine that you follow to stay ahead of your game?
I read a lot. And I read a lot. When I say I read a lot, I do not read any biography or autobiography. I read what difference is coming in the industry. what new things are coming in the industry. And I go to Amazon a lot, for just to see what kind of innovations are done.
Okay. And so when you say, I just want to go a bit deeper into it, when you go into Amazon, what point you wanted to highlight?
You see, in Amazon, they have a concept called innovation store, where they feature a lot of innovative products. Innovative products really give an insight of how the world is perceiving a few things. And that's where I try to see what kind of new innovations are being done in what kind of technology. And then that, gives me a basics of finding or maybe thinking of something new which could really gel in my line of products.
When you are feeling quite stressed out and maybe down and out, what is the stress buster that cheers you up and make you roar again?
Pesh, I do not get into that domain at all. And that's where one of other people have anxieties about, that they do not see me stressed ever. So whatever situation is, I like to remain calm. And the more they stress, the more I'm. And when I'm calm, I'm constantly thinking of what next should be done to really get out of this situation if we are getting in. I like to talk to people. I like to be with people. I do not like to be alone, at any point of time. But stress is something which I'd like to avoid to the maximum extent I can. I know stress is part of the job as well. But yeah, there's nothing special routine or ritual which I need to take. I just keep on thinking. I think a lot. I'm a overthinker.
This is something which is quite uncommon. Let me say, I've not seen that people saying that they don't get stressed out. So this has been the way you have been throughout your life, or you have practiced something which have made you more better at this?
This is throughout my life. As I said, the more stress you throw at me, calmer I become. And the more calm I become, I start thinking in the right direction, immediately.
Wow. So Sumit, the last question is, if there's a autobiography that is made on you, what will be the last line that it would read?
There's no personal life.
Amazing. So thanks a lot, Sumit, for answering all the questions. It was amazing. If someone wants to reach out to you, how they can do it?
I'm always available on my telephone number, my email ID. You have my email ID as well. That is ss@sumites.me. And my phone number is really open. Anybody can call me.
Wonderful. I will anyways put them on the show notes of the resource page. That brings us to the end of our show, Sumit. Thanks a lot for sharing your wisdom and educating us on the various aspects of your journey. It's been a sheer pleasure talking to you, and I really hope your story helps in educating people who are currently maybe content with their midlife, and they can take inspiration and become uncomfortable and go forward. So thanks a lot again for coming in.
Thank you, Rupesh, for having me. And I think I would have given enough bites for people to not follow them. They should really follow their own path. But yes, contentment should be avoided if you really want to do something in your life.
Thank you all for tuning in today. To summarize, the 3 key takeaways from the show were: 1. Don't be afraid of improving upon an existing wheel instead of inventing a new wheel. You don't need to always solve a new problem. Instead, you can make life more easier for people by solving an existing problem in a more efficient way. History has proven this fact time and again. Remember, Facebook got built after Orkut and Google after Yahoo. 2. Do not have a plan B if you really have a strong desire to achieve your goal or vision. Having a plan B may make you complacent when you encounter a huge blow or a hindrance to your path, and you may end up being satisfied with something of lower significance than what you had initially aimed for. 3. At any point of time, ensure you have an aggressive and an updated plan for the things you want to achieve in your life for the next 6 months. And then ensure you are uncomfortable in pursuing this plan. Achievers always are uncomfortable and never allow contentment or feeling of comfort dominate them in pursuing their dreams. I hope you enjoyed listening to the show today. If you like what you heard, then please do subscribe, rate and review the show on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast or any podcasting platform you listen to. Also, kindly do follow our Instagram handle @the Midlife Station to catch up on the latest things going on with our show. You can access show notes for the show by visiting themidlifestation.com/Sumit. That's all I have for you today. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I will see you back next fortnight with another esteemed guest. Until then, let us continue to take those small actions towards the betterment of midlife.